From being Storage Wars' most beloved star, driving vintage cars worth millions and living like a celebrity collector, to a near-fatal motorcycle accident that shattered his body, destroyed his health, and left him living in isolation while the cast he made famous moved on without him. Barry Weiss wasn't just another cast member on Storage Wars. He was the breakout star. While everyone else was grinding to make money at auctions, Barry treated the whole thing like a hobby. He didn't need Storage Wars. He was already a millionaire from his produce business before the show even started. What made Barry different was his personality. He showed up to auctions in vintage cars, wore custom sunglasses, and had this carefree energy that viewers loved. He wasn't desperate like the others. He was just having fun. And that made him the most entertaining person on the show. When Storage Wars launched in 2010, Barry quickly became the fan favorite. His catchphrases, his eccentric style, and his laid-back attitude turned him into a cultural icon. By 2013, he was so popular that A&E gave him his own spin-off show called Buried Treasure. But the spin-off flopped after one season. Barry tried again with another show, Storage Wars, Barry Strikes Back. That one also got canceled. Despite the failures, Barry was still considered Storage Wars royalty. He left the main show in 2013 on good terms, and fans assumed he was off living his best life. For years, that seemed to be true. Barry disappeared from TV, but people figured he was just enjoying his wealth and his car collection. Nobody expected what was about to happen in 2019. The accident that changed everything. On April 24, 2019, Barry Weiss was riding his motorcycle in Los Angeles. A car ran a stop sign and hit him head-on. The impact was catastrophic. Barry suffered multiple broken bones, severe internal injuries, and a traumatic brain injury. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Doctors didn't know if he would survive. And even if he did, they weren't sure he would ever be the same person again. The injuries were that severe. Barry spent weeks in the hospital undergoing multiple surgeries. His chest was crushed, his bones were shattered, and the head trauma was serious enough that recovery would take years, if it even happened at all. For someone who built his entire image on being free-spirited, adventurous, and always on the move, this was devastating. Barry's life had revolved around his cars, his motorcycles, and his ability to travel and collect rare items. Now, all of that was gone. The accident didn't just destroy his body, it destroyed his lifestyle. And the worst part? When news of the crash broke, the response from his former Storage Wars cast was almost silent. The cast that stayed silent. Here's where things get really dark. When Barry nearly died in that accident, you would expect his former co-stars to rally around him. Public statements, visits, support, anything. But that didn't happen. There was no flood of sympathy from the Storage Wars crew. No public well wishes from Daryl Sheets, Jared Schultz, or Brandy Passante. The people Barry had worked with for years, the people who benefited from his popularity on the show, barely acknowledged what happened. Barry had spent years making Storage Wars entertaining. His presence elevated the entire show. And when he needed support, the silence was deafening. It proved what a lot of people had suspected all along. The cast was never a family. They were co-workers competing for screen time. And once someone left the show, the connection disappeared. Even worse, Barry had made it clear over the years that he looked down on the rest of the cast. He treated Storage Wars like a joke while they were grinding to pay bills. He had wealth and freedom they didn't. And when he got his own spin-offs, he didn't bring any of them along. So when the accident happened, a lot of people in the industry weren't exactly rushing to help. The resentment had been building for years, And when Barry's life fell apart, that resentment turned into cold indifference. The long, painful recovery. Barry survived the accident, but recovery was brutal. Traumatic brain injuries don't heal quickly. And at his age, the physical damage was even harder to overcome. He spent months in rehabilitation, learning how to move again, how to think clearly, how to function. The Barry Weiss people knew from Storage Wars was gone. The energetic, fast-talking collector who showed up in rare cars and made everything look effortless was replaced by someone struggling just to get through the day. His mobility was limited. His energy was gone. And the brain injury left lasting effects that made it hard for him to be the person he used to be. For someone whose entire identity was built on being adventurous and larger than life, this was a nightmare. Barry had always been in control. Now he was dependent on others just to handle basic tasks. The independence he valued so much was stripped away. And through all of this, he stayed largely out of the public eye. No interviews, no updates, no comeback attempts. Barry just disappeared. And the longer the silence lasted, the more people started to forget about him. The isolation. By 2020, Barry was essentially gone from public life. His social media went quiet. There were no sightings, no appearances, just silence. And that silence has continued into 2026. Barry is now 74 years old. The accident happened 7 years ago, and he's never fully recovered. Friends who have spoken about him privately say that he's not the same person. The brain injury left permanent damage. His personality changed. His energy never came back. And his ability to enjoy the things that once defined him, cars, motorcycles, adventure, is gone. He's living quietly, away from the spotlight. No more TV, no more auctions, no more vintage car collections making headlines. Just isolation and the ongoing struggle to deal with the aftermath of that one horrific day in 2019. What makes it even sadder is that Barry had everything before the accident. He didn't need Storage Wars for money. He didn't need fame. He had already built a successful life. The show was just something fun for him. But that one decision to ride his motorcycle that day cost him everything. The life he's living now. As of 2026, Barry Weiss is a shell of who he used to be. The collector is gone. The carefree millionaire who treated life like an adventure is gone. What's left is a 74-year-old man dealing with permanent injuries, a traumatic brain injury that changed his personality, and the reality that he'll never get back the life he had. He's not broke like Daryl Sheets. He's not publicly disgraced like Jared Schultz. But in some ways, Barry's situation is worse, because he lost the one thing money can't buy: his health, his independence, and his identity. The accident took everything that made Barry who he was. And unlike the other cast members who lost money or fame, Barry lost himself. The person he was before April 24th, 2019, doesn't exist anymore. And he's had to spend the last 7 years living with that reality. The Storage Wars curse strikes again. Barry's story fits the same pattern as almost every other Storage Wars cast member. Daryl Sheets had a heart attack and drowned in medical debt. Jared Schultz lost his business, his relationship, and his reputation. Brandy Passante inherited a dying show. And Barry Weiss had a near-fatal accident that destroyed his health and ended his life as he knew it. The only person who came out okay was Dave Hester, because Dave got out early, told the truth about the show being fake, and walked away with his dignity intact. Everyone else paid the price for staying involved. Storage Wars sold a fantasy, fame, treasure, adventure. But the reality was exploitation, manufactured drama, and people whose lives fell apart once the cameras stopped rolling. The network made millions. The cast? Most of them are broken. Barry gave the show credibility. His personality made Storage Wars feel fun instead of desperate. And when he left to do his own thing, the show lost something it never got back. But Barry also paid the price. He treated the cast like they were beneath him. He kept his distance. And when he needed support, that distance came back to haunt him. Now he's 74, isolated, and dealing with injuries that will never fully heal. The life he built, the adventures he loved, the freedom he valued, all of it is gone. And there's no coming back from it.